Scenario: a biotechnology firm in California develops a genetic testing kit that consumers can use at home. The kit requires users to send back samples for analysis, and results include detailed genetic information. Under the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act, GINA, what specific compliance considerations must the firm address to ensure they do not violate privacy laws? A. Implement security measures to prevent unauthorized access to genetic data. B. Ensure that genetic information is not used for underwriting purposes in health insurance. C. Gain FDA approval for the genetic testing kits. D. Offer genetic counseling as part of the product offering. Correct answer: B. Ensure that genetic information is not used for underwriting purposes in health insurance. Reasoning: GINA prohibits the use of genetic information in health insurance and employment decisions. The firm must ensure that any genetic data collected through their kits cannot be used for these purposes, safeguarding against discrimination based on genetic features. Scenario: an online platform based in the US provides educational courses and collects students' data, including performance metrics. The platform plans to use this data to predict student success in courses and offer personalized learning paths. Under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, what measures should the platform take to comply with privacy regulations? A. Ensure all student data is anonymized before analysis to prevent identification. B. Obtain written consent from students or their parents before using their educational records for analysis. C. Only use data from students who have graduated. D. Store data in a secure database with access restricted to authorized personnel only. Correct answer: B. Obtain written consent from students or their parents before using their educational records for analysis. Reasoning: FERPA protects the privacy of student education records. The platform must obtain consent from students or their parents, if the students are minors, before using their educational records for purposes other than the provision of education, such as predictive analysis. Scenario: a health insurance company in the US wants to introduce a new program that uses data from fitness trackers to adjust premium rates based on activity levels. Considering the implications under HIPAA, what key aspect must the company address to legally implement this program? A. Provide substantial discounts to encourage participation in the program. B. Ensure that any health data collected is adequately secured and only used with explicit patient authorization. C. Automatically enroll all policyholders in the program but allow them to opt out at any time. D. Collect only non-sensitive data, such as step counts, to avoid HIPAA violations. Correct answer: B. Ensure that any health data collected is adequately secured and only used with explicit patient authorization. Reasoning: HIPAA requires that protected health information, FI, be handled with strict security measures and that it is used or disclosed only with the patient's explicit consent, especially when it comes to data that could affect insurance premiums. Scenario: a company specializing in facial recognition technology provides services to retail stores for identifying known shoplifters as they enter the premises. With increasing concerns under the Illinois Biometric Information Privacy Act, BIPA, what compliance strategy is critical for the company to adopt? A. Only deploy the technology in states other than Illinois. B. Obtain explicit consent from all individuals entering the stores before collecting or using their biometric data. C. Use a less invasive technology, such as traditional surveillance cameras. D. Implement the technology discreetly without specific disclosures to avoid public backlash. Correct answer: B. Obtain explicit consent from all individuals entering the stores before collecting or using their biometric data. Reasoning: BIPA mandates stringent requirements for the collection, use, and storage of biometric data, including facial recognition data. The law requires explicit consent from individuals before collecting or using their biometric information, making it essential for the company to obtain such consent to comply with BIPA. Scenario: a digital marketing firm in the US collects large volumes of consumer data from various online platforms to create targeted advertising campaigns. Under the FTCA Act, what practice must the firm ensure to avoid engaging in deceptive or unfair business practices? A. Only collect data from users who have clicked on previous ads. B. Provide clear and conspicuous notice about data collection practices and obtain informed consent. C. Limit data collection to demographic information to reduce privacy risks. D. Share consumer data freely within its corporate family of companies. Correct answer. B. Provide clear and conspicuous notice about data collection practices and obtain informed consent. Reasoning. The FTC Act prohibits deceptive and unfair business practices. This includes the need for transparency in how consumer data is collected, used, and shared. Providing clear notice and obtaining informed consent are crucial to comply with these legal standards and ensure fair marketing practices. Scenario. A video streaming service wants to analyze viewership data to improve user recommendations. Given recent amendments to the Video Privacy Protection Act, VPPA, what must the service ensure when handling this sensitive viewership data? A. Anonymize all data to ensure individual users cannot be identified. B. Obtain explicit consent from users before collecting or sharing their viewership data for any purpose. C. Store data for no longer than 1 year to comply with data retention policies. D. Implement parental controls for all accounts to prevent unauthorized access by minors. Correct answer. B. Obtain explicit consent from users before collecting or sharing their viewership data for any purpose. Reasoning. The VPPA requires video service providers to obtain informed, written consent from consumers before disclosing information about their video viewing behaviors. This includes using such data for marketing or recommendation enhancements. Scenario. An online retailer uses geolocation data to provide customized shipping options to users based on their current locations. Under state privacy laws similar to the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, what must the retailer ensure? A. Automatically enroll users in location tracking without requiring affirmative consent. B. Offer users the option to opt out of geolocation tracking and provide a clear link titled, "Do not track my location." C. Only use geolocation data if users have made at least one purchase. D. Create an opt-in model where users must actively agree to location tracking before the data is used. Correct answer. D. Create an opt-in model where users must actively agree to location tracking before the data is used. Reasoning. In line with CCPA and similar state laws emphasizing user consent and privacy rights, retailers must ensure that users have explicitly opted in to geolocation tracking before their location data is collected and used. This respects user privacy by only involving those who agree to such data use. Scenario. A financial analytics firm provides credit scoring services based on alternative data sources, including rental history and utility payments. Under the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, ECOA, what critical factor must the firm consider to ensure compliance? A. Ensure that the scoring models do not disproportionately affect consumers based on race, gender, or marital status. B. Only use credit history from major credit bureaus. C. Provide services exclusively to institutions that do not base lending decisions on ECOA-protected characteristics. D. Automatically deny credit to consumers who do not consent to the use of alternative data. Correct answer. A. Ensure that the scoring models do not disproportionately affect consumers based on race, gender, or marital status. Reasoning. ECOA prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, or age in credit transactions. The firm must ensure its models do not inadvertently discriminate against protected classes, maintaining fairness and compliance in credit scoring practices. Scenario. A mobile app developer collects location data from users to offer location-based services such as weather updates and local news. Considering recent enforcement actions under the FTC, what should the developer ensure about the consent mechanism for collecting location data? A. Only collect location data when the app is actively in use. B. Obtain explicit consent from users at the point of app installation and whenever significant changes to data practices occur. C. Assume implied consent if users do not disable location services within the app settings. D. Use location data for additional purposes, such as advertising, without further consent. Correct answer. B. Obtain explicit consent from users at the point of app installation and whenever significant changes to data practices occur. Reasoning. The FTC emphasizes the importance of informed consent, particularly for sensitive information like location data. Developers must obtain explicit and informed consent at installation and notify users of significant changes to ensure transparency and user control over the data.